Jagmeet Singh goes running back to Justin Trudeau and backpedals once again on his claims earlier in the week. Let's get into it.
Oh, yeah!
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to The Fringe. If you were on the channel Friday and yesterday, we talked a lot about Jagmeet Singh's claims that he was no longer supporting Justin Trudeau's carbon tax or his 23% carbon tax hike. Now, it's come out as of Friday, and again, it was pointed out to me during my live stream. I did notice the claims coming through that the Toronto Star had put out an article that Jagmeet Singh had in fact backpedaled and ran back to Justin Trudeau in terms of where he stands in the levy. So I wanted to talk about that today because while a lot of people are saying it's not going to happen, it's not going to move forward, nothing has changed, I still think, and I would encourage you to stick around, that this is still going to happen, that Jagmeet Singh will still be breaking his coalition with Justin Trudeau no matter what. And I'm going to point that out as we get straight into it. I want to touch base on this article from the Toronto Star. God, I hate this outlet, but they seem to be the only one who's talking about this. As it says, after Jagmeet Singh raises doubts, NDP says it still supports a consumer carbon levy. Now, the fact that this is the only outlet talking about this makes me wonder how legitimate this is. However, they're quoting Jagmeet, so again, and they're part of the Liberal propaganda machine. But let's jump into what it says. It says, under fire, the federal New Democrats said Friday they continue to support a consumer carbon levy a day after Jagmeet Singh suggested his party is looking at alternatives. Now, again, the wording here is what we should take care of to notice. New Democrats have not changed our position on the consumer carbon price. What we have is to commit to building a climate plan that makes big polluters pay, bring down the cost for Canadians, meet our emission targets, and unify people in taking on the climate crisis, Singh said in a statement. After repeatedly refusing to clarify Friday whether the party was saying it has not changed, its position meant that the New Democrats continue to support a consumer price on carbon. A senior NDP staff member told the Star, "We have supported it and it hasn't changed." The clarification came 2 days after the NDP supported a Tory motion in the House of Commons calling on the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to host a televised national summit with Canada's premiers to hear alternatives to his government's carbon pricing policy. Now, the reason this is important and the reason why I say that I still think things are going to move forward. If you watch the other videos, I referred to this as the Hydra starting to eat its own heads. And we're going to see that as this week continues in the House of Commons when we look at question period, when we see the attacks go back and forth. Essentially what Jagmeet Singh has done is he's supported a motion for Justin Trudeau to sit down with these 7 of 10 premiers to hear what they have to say in regards to the carbon tax, because Jagmeet Singh knows just as well as anybody else that if he puts the blame on somebody else, if they put enough pressure on Justin Trudeau, what he's hoping for is that the premiers will be the ones to take the blame by ultimately shifting Justin Trudeau rather than Jagmeet Singh having to break off his coalition. But that's not going to happen. We know that Justin Trudeau is going to make excuse after excuse, even if this televised event happens. He made it very clear in his press conference, and we're going to get to the quotes on his press conference, that he's not backing down. Following Wednesday's vote, the NDP had refused to say whether it believed a consumer carbon levy remained a necessary part of any climate change action plan. Singh would only say that his party would release its own plan, which would not place a burden on workers. Again, it's kind of a paradox when he says that, because ultimately, if you put a price on industrial, then or big business, then they're still going to pass that on to the consumer no matter what. If you say that you want to take it off the consumer but boost it in other areas, it's just going to go in a cycle. It's not going to end. This is the problem with the NDP, is they think big, and they always say all these things would be wonderful, but they always want to have their cake and eat it too, and they can't do that, especially here. The NDP leader doubled down on a speech Thursday, distancing himself from the Liberal program under which he said working families are bearing the cost of climate change while big polluters make bigger and bigger profits. He called for more attention on policies, and he said the biggest drivers of lowering emissions, such as industrial price on pollution. It can't just be that our only approach to fighting climate crisis is using free market solutions, Jagmeet said. That is not sufficient to meet seriousness of what we're up against. The NDP have supported the Trudeau government's consumer carbon levy since it was implemented back in 2019 and even campaigned on it in that year's election campaign. It says, however, they objected when the government announced the exemption of the program for home heating oil that was widely seen as an effort to win back the support of disaffected Liberals in Atlantic Canada, citing their opposition as what they deemed as unfair carve-outs. Now, we saw this all kind of unfold close to Christmas when Justin Trudeau, of course, gave that exemption, and it was clear that he was doing it to buy back seats and votes where Liberal MPs were at dangers of losing their seats. But before the NDP clarified its position on Friday, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau accused it of caving to the Conservatives and taking a step back in the fight against climate change, while the Conservatives charged Singh was desperate to run for his record. There's really no winning here for Jagmeet Singh. Both parties are going after him. I don't entirely understand the position of NDP pulling back from both affordability measures from the fight against climate change, Trudeau told reporters in Vaughan, Ontario. The Conservatives are telling everyone they will take away those carbon rebate checks and step back in the fight against climate change. It's unfortunate that their arguments seem to be resonating with the NDP. So once again, Justin Trudeau blaming the Conservatives. He certainly doesn't want to blame his bonkers program. And what essentially is happening here is he's talking about that if Pierre Poilievre removes the carbon tax, that somehow we're going to suffer from the very little bit of money that we're getting back. In fact, some getting nothing at all. And I do want to clarify while we're on that point that in yesterday's video, I was talking about the people who were getting the most out of these carbon rebates, if you call it that, are people who, quote, sit on their ass and do nothing. Now, what I meant by that statement, because it seemed to trigger a lot of people because they weren't really sure what I was meaning by that. When I say people sitting on their ass doing nothing, I'm literally meaning people who sit on their ass and do nothing. Part of that being young entitled youth that think that they should champion things like universal basic income, like they should be getting everything for nothing. And of course, like we see with the roughly 80% statistically of migrants coming to this country seeking asylum, bleeding off of the welfare system and taking the handouts. These are people that aren't contributing to the carbon tax because they don't have a vehicle, they don't use many of the services that pollute on carbon in the first place. So they're getting massive rebates back, or the full rebates, being under the poverty line, while those who are contributing the most in the working class are getting very little. So just to clarify, that is in fact what I meant, because it's a travesty. Everybody contributes to this, yet there's a line on who gets what back. In response, Jagmeet Singh said that his party was not changing its position, but has committed to building a climate change plan that focuses on punishing big polluters, bringing down costs, meeting targets, and unifying Canadians. Again, this is where I'm saying that his coalition's going to break up, because he's going to try to have some cojones here if this televised event doesn't go through, where he's going to use this similar to how he did with his dental plan, with his healthcare plan, where he basically threatens the Liberals and says, look, if you don't do this, I'm going to break coalition. And again, Justin Trudeau has made it very firm. He's not backing down. He's in fact going to implement more. He just will not do it. So Jagmeet Singh's going to be in a very uncomfortable position while he's looking at the future of his party to decide, well, do I side with the Conservatives or do I move over to the Liberals? Now, a lot of people have mentioned after Friday's video, well, the Bloc still can hold a majority with the Liberals. However, I beg to differ and ask you to look outside the box a little bit and kind of look around the edges of this, that if the NDP were to side with the Conservatives, break that coalition, and Quebec residents, despite the fact that they have very little to do with the carbon tax, see that the Bloc are preventing an election from being called at a time when they're being punished in more ways than we can count, they're going to put the same pressure on that party that they're going to be losing seats, as we're seeing on the NDP right now, which is pushing Jagmeet to make these claims to begin with. It says the New Democrats are looking for ways to make life more affordable for people and fight the climate crisis with the urgency required, Singh's statement said. The back and forth has drawn criticism from environmental groups, with one urging national climate conversation has been struck in a loop about rolling back progress on the consumer price of carbon instead of propositioning additional solutions. We've been hearing a lot about some parties' reservations about carbon pricing in the past weeks, said Caroline Brulette, the executive director of Climate Action Network Canada. We have been hearing a lot less about, unfortunately, our are the alternative climate proposals and plans that these parties are putting forward. The biggest thing that Jagmeet Singh has to worry about, and the reason that he's flip-flopped on this so much, is because there's boundary changes coming in for his party where people are poised to lose seats right now. And not only that, we've already got MP Daniel Blakey a month ago saying that he's resigning to work with Wab Kinew in Manitoba. Now people are saying, well, but he's not leaving the party. He's fleeing a sinking ship. He knows that if he runs in the next election, his time is done. So instead, he'll move to Manitoba to work with domestic abuser Wab Kinew, alleged domestic abuser Wab Kinew, because he feels that he's got more time in that position that way. He can secure that glorious, glorious pension and continue to feed off the government teat. But it's not just him. Charlie Angus, Carol Hughes, and Rachel Blaney also won't run again in the next federal election. And we're seeing them say constantly that, hey, this is because of our age. This is time. It's just, we're done. We've done everything we want to do. I'll tell you what it boils up to for me, folks. These people do not want to have on their records that they lost their seats in a federal election because it says as a stain on their record that they failed to do their job for their constituents, and they're starting to panic. These are rats fleeing off a ship. Again, ladies and gentlemen, if you stick with me, if you watch Question Period in the upcoming weeks, it's going to be more entertaining than ever. I feel, again, the Hydra heads are going to start biting each other off. We're going to see a lot of back and forth coming up and a lot of karma coming for those who want to talk about bogus politics that have no place in the House of Commons, nor make any sense financially or fiscally when it comes to what we're doing with ourselves as a country. Again, it's going to be interesting to see, and that's my opinion. How you guys feel, you have the right to feel that way. I get it. People are low on hope right now. They think that no change will come until 2025. But what I can tell you is that if we don't see an election before 2025, it's going to be interesting as hell to watch what happens between Jagmeet Singh and Justin Trudeau as they basically go after each other at this point to show who's got the bigger stones. Let me know your comments down below. Let me know what you guys think. If it's your first time here, make sure to leave a comment and a thumbs up. It helps us get out in the algorithm because King Fancy Socks doesn't like us talking about them. And in fact, anytime I post a video about them, YouTube likes to bury it and make sure those can't see it. So by doing that, you're helping get it out there and telling people, hey, this is good content. People are watching it. Make sure to turn on your bell for notifications and join us live on the channel every Friday at 8 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Pacific for Friday Night Fringe, where we talk about subjects like this. But we also have a little back and forth with the community and some Q&A. And I look very forward to talking with each and one of you there. It's always the highlight of my week, and I cannot wait for this Friday to get into subjects like this. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day and enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll catch you on the next one.